And welcome, everybody. You are watching On Deck with DeRo Arch. I am Eric DeRoss along with Darren Archer, and we are coming to you on this, March day, March in the 20s, 23rd, 24th, somewhere in there. And it's about 87 degrees for the high today. So felt a little more like summer than it did spring today.
It did, and it's supposed to get warmer tomorrow, and then, of course, like springtime, the bottom's supposed to drop out. So,
Yep,
gotta love this weather. We'll enjoy it while we can, and it's kind of don't put up your winter clothes time yet.
absolutely.
It's going to rear its ugly head again at some point in time.
I, yep, I would say you're right. So, hey, I'm going to start with a little, some local sports news. Um, in the area on the collegiate level, um, we have some basketball openings. Uh, Coach Shepard at C of O resigned or retired is the better word from his coaching duties. He's going to remain as athletic director there, a long time stalwart at C of O. Done a great job there. A legend in his own way, I think, and done really great things for that university. So officially, that job is open, and we don't know all the inner workings, but at least on the surface, the men's job at C of O is open. Um, Women's basketball job at SBU is open as well. And on the men's side, the head job at SBU was also open until a couple days ago. And that job was filled by Thomas Brock, who is native to Southwest Missouri. Father is Skip Brock. If most of you that are in touch with athletics in Southwest Missouri at least know of Skip Brock and his legendary coaching throughout the years. But Thomas is the son of Skip. Thomas played at SBU and then went on to Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri, and now is returning back to SBU. So I think a great hire for SBU. I don't know Thomas. I know Skip a little bit, but I don't know Thomas personally. I know who he is, but everything I hear about him is he walks the walk and does it the right way. So I, I would I would assume that you have some connections with the Brock family and know them a little bit.
Absolutely. Very good friends with Skip and his dad. And I remember both Brock boys, who ironically will both be GLVC coaches next year,
Yeah.
coaching in the same conference and knocking heads. But
Yep.
I remember when they were knee high to a grasshopper.
Right.
And I mean, they grew up in a basketball family. And Thomas is a former player at Southwest Baptist and kind of returning back home, so to speak. And I think he'll do a tremendous job. Great pickup by Clark Shehai and his staff. And um, Thomas had a lot of success at Columbia College. For our listeners, if
Yeah.
that name's familiar, he's been at uh, Columbia College for over a decade now. So glad to have him in Bolivar and excited to see what he can do with that Bearcat basketball program.
Absolutely. I think a solid pickup and he's went to high school at Mount Vernon for those of you that don't know that. Hey, and not only was he a basketball player there, but he was a really good football player, played quarterback for Mount Vernon there and was tough, hard-nosed football player as well. So very athletic when he was a player, smart, heady, kind of a coach's kid in the way that he thought and played the game. So, and he's had nothing but success as a coach, and I don't think either one of us are surprised by that based on his playing experience and his pedigree with his father and all those things. So I'm with you. I think that's a tremendous hire for SBU, and it's going to be fun to watch that program grow and develop. So congratulations to Thomas Brock and family and so on, and welcome back to Bolivar. It's good to have you. I'm going to talk a little baseball. We're actually recording this show on a Wednesday, and the opening game is tonight of Major League Baseball. Uh, your Cubs open tomorrow at 1:20, I think, in Wrigley. Is that correct?
Correct. They're at home.
Yep. Against the Nationals. I think that's a good opening day matchup for the Cubs. So excited for that game for them. My Reds open at 3:10 at home, and they're going to play the Red Sox, which is a tough opening day, probably in my opinion. And I think it's a little interesting that it's an interleague game, National League game versus an American League game to open the season. So that's a little different. Um, Opening day seems early, and it is a little earlier than sometimes. A lot of times, it's about a week from now when that opens. If I'm not mistaken, the World Series might have lasted into November last year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So so here we are, third week ish of March. Opening day is going to be here, or is here, and then there's potential for the World Series to go all the way into November. I haven't looked at the calendar for sure, but that's a long season. And I think what I'm sort of asking you on that is that opening day too early? Is the season too long for players and fans alike? Like, what's your take there?
From a fan standpoint, probably yes.
Yeah.
From an owner's standpoint, it's probably too short because they've got to find ways
Yep.
to be able to pay these exorbitant contracts that are out there right now, and they're probably wishing it would go year round and
Right.
they'd play double headers every day and clear it out. Have a morning and play, and
Right.
clear them back up and play them an evening. But no, it is long, but I think
Right.
we've kind of grown accustomed to the length of the season. And, as far as it being too early for opening day, I think that's more geographical than anything. If you're up in the far northeast, it's probably going to feel a little early to be
Right.
to be at a ballpark. But obviously, in the southwest, southeast, the warmer areas of the United States at this point in time of year, it feels like baseball season. Shoot, it feels like baseball season here in the
Yeah.
Midwest, and
Yeah.
most of the games will take place after we record this show. The one thing I really love about opening day is just seeing the different pageantry at different ballparks and the history that is always brought out. Um, Bringing out a lot of former players that you and I probably grew up with, and
Yeah.
if we're lucky enough to still have them around, and
Right.
um, the great thing about opening day is it will stretch into um, next week some for home openers anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the fact that teams that are on the road will probably not have their home opener until 7 8 days from now. So it's kind of stretched out, and I enjoy it. It gives me a chance to kind of go from club to club and see how they celebrate the opening of another season. And we probably better enjoy this season because the way it looks, baseball may be put on the back burner for a while with the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like that's where that's headed, and neither one of us are lawyers or union representatives or anything like that. But for me, it's just kind of got the feel that a lockout is imminent once this season takes place. So who knows? Hopefully, we're wrong on that. I'm with you. I really enjoy opening day for the fact is I like to see what former players and personalities that those clubs bring back to celebrate opening day. In the Reds case, I think Davey Concepcion is going to be a part of their open day. I'm not sure if he's their parade marshal or throwing out opening pitch or whatever, but
Mhm.
just that part's really cool to see who they bring back. So
Well, and you think about St. Louis, the
yeah.
Clydesdales, um, and Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. The fountains are on, and there's a buzz in the air, and everybody has a chance right now.
Yeah.
Regardless of what your team did last year, you got a shot this year, especially if you're the Los Angeles Dodgers.
You've got a real shot. You've got
You've
a
got a
real
very
shot.
good shot.
Yeah, for sure. When we get to our Hold'em and Fold'em portion of the show, I've got a couple of baseball questions that I'm going to have you ponder and give our fans or give our viewers a an answer to. So we'll get to that later in the show. Going to turn our attention to NCAA basketball.
Yep.
Um, I made some quick notes here, so if I've messed something up or whatever, be sure and jump in and correct me. I went by region, and so I think I'm just going to fill you in by region, and then we'll talk about that region, and then we'll move on. That's kind of how we'll attack this tonight. South region, Iowa beat Florida by one in one heck of a game. Um, Nebraska beat Vanderbilt by two in another great game, which the fans in that game it was incredible energy in that arena. But what that does is it sets up an Iowa Nebraska matchup, which is, I mean, I think it's great for the game. And one of those is going to advance, obviously. Um, Neither one of them have a lot of history being there and doing that. So, really intrigued with Iowa and Nebraska. Give me your thoughts on that one.
Well, DeRo, I think you were kind of hoping for that and called it
Yeah.
last week. When we discussed this heading into the start of the tournament, that there was a real possibility that those two could meet up in a Sweet 16, and lo and behold, here we have it. And Big Ten matchup. Um, Two programs that have been turned around in a very short time period, and two teams that have a legit shot at getting to the
Yeah.
Final Four. Um, I think Iowa proved that by beating last year's national champion in
Yeah.
Florida, which kind of shocked everybody, myself included, with a great win. And how good of a job has Ben McCollum done
Oh my
at
goodness.
Iowa? I mean, that guy has gone from Northwest Missouri State
Yeah.
to the next year, taking Drake to the round of 32, to taking Iowa to the round of 16, and all the national championships that he won at a D2 level. All the guy does is win,
Yeah.
and he makes you play at a pace that favors his team. I
Yeah.
mean, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do about it. I mean, athlete per athlete, Florida was by far the better team at any position than what Iowa was. And the way that they methodically slowed them down, made them guard, and just picked apart that defense was incredible.
As a coach, I would love to watch Iowa, their practice and their prep work that they do. And I don't think you could get the full magnitude of it in just one practice. I think you sort of have to be around the program, you know, on a day by day. But yeah, he's a system guy. He has a system, and they roll it out and they execute it. And what they do is they play in a way that gives them the best chance to win against oftentimes better athletes, like you referenced with Florida. So, yeah, I think he's incredible what he's done. And so, um, and I say this almost every week, but uh, sports athletics, those things run in cycles, right? So whatever is working, whatever is successful, people start to copy and emulate that. So with him having some success with that, it might be interesting to see if some of those programs that don't get quite the upper tier athletes all the time, if they don't sort of start to copy him and do some things. Now, obviously, he's in a class by himself of being able to do that, but it could, the trend could be, hey, we're going to be the next Iowa, we're going to be a Nebraska, and sort of take on that direction in the program. So great matchup. I love it that one of them's going to go to the Elite Eight. Think it's awesome for the game. Also in that South region, the other matchup is Houston and Illinois. How do you see that one?
While I think the edge goes to Houston simply from the fact that it's going to be played in Houston.
Yeah,
That essentially is going to be a home game for Houston. But both teams have shown throughout the year they're Final Four caliber type teams. Both played in extremely tough conferences and did extremely well in those conferences, and really have the firepower at every position and the depth to be able to make it to the Final Four.
yeah. Switching to the West region, Arizona won, and they will play Arkansas. Arkansas beat a really well coached, talented High Point team that sort of took them to the end. They took Arkansas all the way to the end. But with that being said, I do feel like Arkansas is playing really, really well, playing their best ball this season. They have some dudes, no doubt. Um, you and I have sort of sang their praises off the air. The question is, do they have enough mojo to compete with Arizona?
I think they do. Um, and you're dealing with a coach that's been there, done that on several different occasions with several different teams, and this team just kind of feels like they've got their mojo right in the right spot. Now, the problem is they face Arizona, who I think from start of the year to um, right now, them along with Michigan have probably been the cream of the crop. They are the two that has seemed to kind of rise above the other teams throughout the top 10
Right.
uh, throughout the nation. Those two teams really have stood out to me throughout the course of the season to be a national champion per se. So that's just going to be athletes against athletes. I think Arizona will try to slow Arkansas down some. They rely heavily on their defense and execution on offense. I'd say if they can keep the score in the 70s and 80s, Arizona wins this. If the score gets up in the 90s, it's going to favor Arkansas. They love that pace of play, and just beating you down the court and using their athletes to be able to go score.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a great matchup. I'm with you. I think Arkansas has the personnel. Uh, they have enough size. They have enough athleticism. They shoot it well enough. I think from the perimeter, and they've got a dude. I mean, they have got a guy, and it seems like in tournament time, if you're going to go very far, you about have to have a guy, and
Yep.
they've definitely got a guy. So
Yep.
be a great game to watch. Also in the West is a Purdue Texas matchup. And last week on air, you kind of were high on Texas, thought they had kind of peaked and playing their best ball of the year, and you kind of liked their personnel and they're big and some things like that. And you were spot on. They've played really well, and they beat Gonzaga, which we thought was a potential, or I sort of thought they might have a potential to lose earlier than they were seeded. I thought it was going to be from BYU. So I was half right. So I'll take the 50% right. But you were spot on about Texas. And so Texas and Purdue match up as the other game in the West. What do you think there?
That'll be an interesting matchup. I think they match up very well with each other, and Purdue is playing like everybody thought they would at the right time of year. They came into the season preseason number one in the nation, and dropped quite a few games in the Big Ten. Of course, it was against very good competition,
Right.
but they're another team just like Texas, who has seemed to find their stride at the right time and are really playing well together. So I expect that to be a very good game. I give the edge to Purdue.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of guys that are seniors that lead this team that have played 4 years together. They have four starters that started at Purdue, which is kind of an anomaly this day and age. So I just think the experience with that group of players playing with each other under the same program, there
Yeah.
hasn't been a coaching change, which is another anomaly.
Yeah.
So I'd give the edge to Purdue in that one.
And Purdue has a really, really skilled point guard. True, what I
Yes.
would call as true a point guard as there is nowadays. Like he just makes everybody better, and he makes the right play all the time, and he's unselfish. But when they need him to go get one, he'll go get one. So
Yeah.
he,
Braden Smith. I mean,
yeah,
for those people that don't know, he broke Bobby Hurley's all-time assist record.
yeah,
Now that's saying something.
yes, yeah,
You know that guy knows what he's doing. He was Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana, stayed at home, went to Purdue. Another 4-year guy, and he really does a great job of running that show and runs the pick and roll as well as anybody I've seen since Stockton.
Yeah.
Ran it with Malone at Utah.
Yeah. Hey, and the 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 pick and roll isn't it's not outdated. It still
No,
works. It's all about personnel and spacing and timing and all those things. And you're right, Purdue does it as good as anybody, but it's in part due to their guard play. So
right.
good matchup there for sure. I'm going to move to the East. I think we could talk about this region for 30 minutes, probably. We're not going to, but those two matchups, I'm going to give you the matchups first, and then we'll talk. Duke versus St. John's and UConn versus Michigan State. Now, you talk about some heavyweight matches like that. I just don't know. Well, there's just not any deeper bracket or deeper
No,
region than that one.
no.
Now, I don't know on paper initially that it probably didn't feel that way, but as you've watched those teams play, you're impressed with each one of them. I'm going to start with Duke and St. John's. Duke's a really good team. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They're going to be favored and should be. Man, I kind of like St. John's. I'm not saying they're going to beat Duke, but my goodness, I think they play well. They guard you. They make things really difficult. They have tremendous toughness and poise, and I think St. John's a load. So talk to me about Duke and St. John's.
I am really looking forward to the matchup with the bigs
Yeah,
in this game. Um, the Boozer twin and
mhm,
Edgefor from St.
yeah,
John's against Boozer from Duke, maybe two of the better big men and more skilled big men that can play inside and out
right.
uh, are going to face off with each other, and I think that's where the difference is going to be made. I give the edge to Duke if they're completely healthy. And they're still kind of wait and see on their point guard. But I think if he comes back, it kind of gets them back to full strength. Their depth is expanded quite a bit. I think depth is going to play a role in this game. Um, they're going to attack each other um, in the half court and in transition, and there's going to be a lot of fouls called. And I think depth and bench play will definitely play a big part.
And I'm not trying to steal what you said about the previous region, but as as good as St. John's is, and as fast as they are capable of playing, I feel like a high scoring game favors Duke.
Absolutely.
If the game's in the 60s, I think St. John's wins it. Like I just I think it. And hey, it's hard to keep Duke under 70. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what year, what group. Like you, it's hard to keep them under 70. It
Yeah.
really is. I think if St. John's can make that a 68-61 game or 65-61, something like that, I think they got a real shot. Um, I think if Duke gets to 70, it's game over now.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, and I may have a different story for you next week, but I, I don't think that St. John's necessarily is looking to slow it down. I just think they want to guard you and make it really hard for you to score. Um, and so defensively, hey, I don't know what it's like to have to do defensive drills in Rick Pitino's practices, but I don't think I want to find out. I don't think I would want to be. I don't think I'd want to do that. I mean, these St. John's teams remind me of Bob Huggins' teams
Yes.
defensively. They seem to parallel each other a little bit. So great matchup, in my opinion. This is the best game to watch, and I would probably follow that with Arizona Arkansas as the next best, and then maybe Nebraska. The Nebraska game is in there too for different reasons, but.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I had to pick one game, if you told me, "Hey, you can only watch one game," I would pick Duke St. John's. I think that would be
Absolutely. Same.
the other game in the East region is UConn and Michigan State. Same thing. I mean, two old school coaches, both uh, really challenge their players publicly. not afraid to challenge them right in front of the cameras.
In front of
You know,
God and everybody.
you're right, and unapologetically, like
Yes,
they think it's just what you do.
that's right.
Um, so and a great matchup. Um, I don't know that I lean one way or the other in this. I mean, Tom Izzo is really good, obviously, but Coach Hurley's the last couple of years. I mean, he's proven himself to be a big time winner as well. So, UConn, Michigan State. What are you thinking here?
My goodness, that's a pick 'em there. Toss it
Yeah,
up, let them go play. That region almost has a Final Four feel to it.
I
I mean,
agree.
if you started off at the beginning of the year just throwing every team that made the tournament in a hat, and you said, okay, these are the 4 teams that are going to get to the Final Four, I don't think anybody would be surprised.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
oh, this team really made it. How did they get there? I don't think there would be any of that. So it has a Final Four type feeling to it. And the thing of it is, you win your Sweet 16 game, the Elite Eight game to get to the Final Four is going to be just as tough, if not tougher. And it all comes down to matchups. I think this time of year, you always want to have good inside interior play, but it comes down to your guard play. Um, in several different ways. They set the tone on defense. They kind of run the offense, and they've got to have the ability to score to take that pressure off of
yeah.
your bigs inside. So I think that whole region comes down to guard play. Um, Whomever's guards play the best all around, I think gets out of that region and stands a legit shot at winning the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, yeah. Both those games in the East, you're right. That region feels like Final Four. I mean, it
Yep.
just does. So it's going to be great, great must see TV in that region. The last region that we have out of the 4 is the Midwest. One matchup is Michigan and Alabama. Both of those teams have really dominated, maybe too strong, but they have won with ease both of their first 2 round games. Alabama is the quietest Sweet 16 team out there. You just don't hear much about them. You didn't hear a whole lot about them in the season. Um, Kind of cool for them, obviously, because they're known as a football school, although they've had some really good basketball teams through the years. But Alabama, I don't want to say they're a dark horse, but they kind of snuck in a little bit. So Michigan's really good. They got athletes and really skilled players. What are you thinking here, Michigan and Alabama?
I think the clock runs out for Alabama. I think Michigan's just too good across the board. They're too deep. And I think with Alabama losing their second leading scorer to a uh, team infringement, federal law infringement.
That'll get you. It'll get you.
Yeah, I think it ends up biting them in the behind
Yeah,
this game. I think the clock runs out for Cinderella.
yeah, I agree. The other matchup is Tennessee and Iowa State. And I'm only going to mention on the air the things that I got right, which is 2 so far. And I'm not going to mention any of the ones that I didn't get right. But I kind
We'd both be here all night if we did that
of, yeah, we
for
don't have time for
ourselves.
don't have time for that. But I did have a feel for Tennessee over
Yeah.
Virginia when we talked last week. I like their coaching and their experience there with their coaching staff and all those kinds of things. And I also just didn't know a ton about Virginia. I wasn't slighting them. I just didn't know a ton about them. But to Tennessee's credit, they won the game, played well. You know, it was a tight game at the end, and they got it done. Iowa State team, they played well all year. They've played a heavy schedule. Uh, So talk to me a little bit, and the fact that they beat Kentucky by 20 in that final game there last weekend. And I mean, Kentucky isn't some of the Kentucky teams that we've are
Right.
accustomed to, but they still have athletes, and By all accounts, they have the biggest NIL budget in the nation, and so like they've got resources and they're used to winning. So if you beat Kentucky by 20 at any point in the season, it's a good win. And Iowa State
Absolutely.
did just that. So Tennessee and Iowa State, what do you see there?
It's all going to depend on Joshua Jefferson, who arguably is Iowa State's best player. He can kind of do it all. An undersized post that if you guard him with a big man, they'll take him outside and let him go to work. If you guard him with a smaller forward, they're going to plant him inside and let him go to work. And he had a pretty bad ankle injury uh, the first round and did not play against Kentucky. And that's about 16 points and 8 rebounds a game, and just does a lot of the dirty work for Iowa State. I think their success is going to depend on whether or not he's able to get back, and if they win against Tennessee, which I think they will without him, they're going to need him for that Elite Eight game. Um, Especially against Michigan, they're going to have to be all hands on deck. But they are certainly capable if they're healthy across the board.
I would echo what you said. It feels like that they're good enough to win the first game of the weekend without him, but it sort of feels like they're probably not good enough to win the second one without him.
Yeah.
That would be my feel as well. So uh, just like any other year, this has been a great tournament. The parity is unbelievable. Those teams that are lower seeds, their ability to Siena with Jerry McNamara coaching, like the game they played against Duke was phenomenal. Those kids were so well prepped and coached, and even John Shire said, "Hey, I got out coached tonight." Like just publicly said that. So and it appears that McNamara's going back to Syracuse as their head coach, where he played for Jim Boeheim and was a heck of a player there. So
Absolutely.
yes, great tournament, lots of parity. Every year, I just sort of think, well, it can't get any better than this, and then it kind of seems to, or we forget how good the previous one was. But great tournament. Can't wait for these Sweet 16 games. I may be as excited about some of these Sweet 16 games as I am the Elite Eight. Lots of
Yeah.
intrigue with these early games. So going to be fun to watch. With that, I'm going to take us to our Hold'em and Fold'em segment of the show as we wind this up tonight. For those of you that's joining in the first time, as a first time viewer on our show, every week I give Coach Archer a scenario where he can either hold the scenario as you would in poker, or you can fold as you would in poker. So I try to get creative with these and get outside the box. So this week I have three different scenarios. Within one of those scenario are two tangents of that. So we're going to start with Major League Baseball since opening day is upon us. So the Hold'em and Fold'em regarding baseball. Your Cubs, the Cubs, will be in first place in the Central Division at the All-Star break. Are you going to hold them or fold them on that? First place in the Central at the
Oh
All-Star.
my. May have to bluff that one. And here's the reason why. I think there's a lot of parity between the Reds, the Cubs, and the Brewers. And and
I
if
hope so.
If Pittsburgh gets off to a good start,
Agree.
don't count them out. I
I
mean,
agree.
they're kind of scary good, and if they call up some of their younger players, they could be really good. Um, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold them. No, 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 no. I'm gonna fold them on that. Uh,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tight race throughout. It's going to come down to the last week and um, on who wins that division. Now, I think there can be some separation as far as the wild card is concerned, just like
Right.
last year, where you had three teams from the Central Division going on to the playoffs. Um, but I'm not real sure by the All-Star break that Cubs will be in first place.
And hey, I I'm with you on the Pirates. For one thing, they're really, really good once every fifth day. Like, I mean, uh, almost lights out good. I mean,
Yes.
if he gets any support at all, they win that game. So if they lose two in a row and then he's the game three pitcher, they're probably not getting swept. Like if it's a
That's
three
right.
game set. So like it's almost like they have a chance in every series they play, unless they've got a bunch of three-game series that bump up against each other. But if they play a three-game set and then follow that with a four-game set, he's going to pitch once, and each one of those
Right.
likely could. And hey, so I mean, there's two wins that they can get right away. So I think what he can do for them as can he serves as a slump breaker for them. So
Yes.
when the Pirates get in the slump, like I don't feel like it's going to last very long. I think even the Cubs and Reds, they can sort of dry up and they can lose a four-game set here or drop the last two of a three-game set and then drop the next two of a four-game set. Like and Skeens, he keeps you from getting into that where you're going to lose multiple games in a row. So uh, I'm like you. I think the Pirates can screw it up for some teams down the
Yes.
road. So,
Agreed.
um, so you're going to fold on the Cubs to be in first at the break. Is that what I
I
heard?
am.
In the Central. Okay.
Correct.
The second piece of this hold'em fold'em regarding baseball is the St. Louis Cardinals will be sellers in July,
I'm
which
not sure what
effectively
I'm,
means they think they have no shot
yeah,
at the bottom, right?
right. I just don't know that they've got much left to sell.
That's a valid point.
They had a
Spoken
fire
like a true
sale.
Cubs fan.
Yeah. They, I mean, they're going to be fielding basically a minor league team,
Yeah,
and um, I think that there will be some pieces that they would be willing to get rid of,
right.
that you wouldn't normally think about. But as far as that huge trade piece, trying to
May not
think
be
right
there.
offhand, nobody that is not under control and old enough worth not sticking with, so to
Yes,
speak. You know
yes,
what I mean? So, I mean, that's kind of a tricky scenario there that, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to be in a seller position. It's going to be interesting to see what players they would be interested in moving on,
right,
that other teams would be interested in, and which is not under a rookie contract,
right,
or another team that's going to be interested
right. I
in
agree.
that type player.
Most of their pieces, I would say, most of the pieces that the Cardinals have, the teams that are in the playoff hunt probably already have a guy very similar to that. They'd just be adding something they already have, essentially. So I'm kind of with
Sure, and
you on that.
I can see them moving some bullpen pieces.
Yeah,
Maybe a starter, um, that would be a third or fourth rotation guy if somebody gets hurt for another team, that they just want to plug and play.
yeah,
But I think those would be the type of scenarios for the Cardinals,
yeah,
um, come trade deadline.
yep. Uh, Next, Hold'em Fold'em, I'm going to switch back to NCAA basketball. I already mentioned, and you and I talked about some teams that we feel like were sort of peaking, playing really good basketball at the right time. I think Arkansas probably fits that. Nebraska and Iowa sort of fit that. Um, One that we sort of St. John's probably even
Mhm.
falls into that. The one you mentioned last week is Texas. Um, so here's the hold 'em or fold 'em. Texas will stay hot and they will beat Purdue. Hold 'em or fold 'em.
I would have to go fold them on that. I just once again I think, uh, Cinderella's time has run out. It's been a great run for,
Yeah,
Texas. They've made the Sweet 16 with a first year coach and new faces, and I think he's going to do one heck of a job uh, down there. Sean Miller, I really
Yeah.
like him as a coach, and he's been successful wherever he's been. Texas is the type of team that a year from now, if they're in that position, you're talking about them possibly being able to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I still think he's a year away, maybe two, depending on who stays, who goes. You know how all that, the new era of college basketball. But
Right.
I just think Purdue's experience and being in this type of position, um, I think Texas time has run out.
Yep. Very good. The last Hold'em Fold'em I have for you this evening also involves NCAA basketball, and this could be it can be confusing, so I'm going to make it as clear as I can. If St. John's beats Duke, if they beat Duke, so it's contingent, they would they would also beat either UConn or Michigan State and go to the Final Four. So my premise is there the bigger hurdle is Duke. If they beat Duke, they're in the Final Four because they win the next round. Are you going to hold that or fold that?
Oh, I'm holding that.
Yeah.
I'm holding that. Just watching what they did to UConn in the Big East championship game. Now, obviously, it was played in New York City, played
Right.
at Madison Square Garden. It was basically a home game for them. But I think that's what they needed, the shot in the arm that they needed to kind of jumpstart this tournament run that they've been through. And hey, they beat a very good Kansas team
I agree.
and really forced Kansas to play the way that St.
Yep.
John's wanted. I mean, they were turning Kansas over, just trying to get the ball in bounds a lot of times.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if it was a baseline out of bounds, full court out of bounds, what have you. I think that pressure and their depth, they stand an awfully good chance of making it to the Final Four, and that's not a team you want to face in the semifinal round of the NCAA National Championship tournament. With a team playing with that much confidence and basically playing with house money,
Right.
heading into that game. So, and you've got uh, the wizard with Patino.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of like the stars are aligning, and it's going to be hard to. They're going to be a tough out.
Yeah. I agree. The question becomes, can they survive Duke and all the
Right.
Duke mystique and more than mystique? They just got players. I mean,
Sure. Absolutely.
bench and they've got good size. I mean, skilled size, and they've got skilled guard play. I mean, they're the whole deal. Um, I do think if there's any one team in the nation that can really guard them, it's probably St. John's.
Yeah.
So that's why this is such a good matchup. So I'm sort of with you. I think they can go to the Final Four if they win and beat Duke. I think they win the next one and they're in the Final Four. Now,
Yeah.
that next one's difficult. I mean,
Sure.
neither one of us are naive there, but I do like St. John's, and I do like more than anything. I feel like they're playing their best ball at the right time. So,
Yeah.
going to be great to watch. So, well, Coach Archer, I think that's all I have for this evening. Again, a great time of the year. Opening day, opening day baseball, NCAA, March Madness, Sweet 16, and Elite Eight, and headed to the Final Four. Um, by a week from this weekend, I think every major league team will have played a home game. So that's every team with say 10 days from now will have played some games in their own park. And so I think once they've played on the road and in their park, I feel like the season is
Yeah.
fluid and in motion. So great time to be a baseball fan, and obviously the basketball that's in front of us is going to be really good too. So final thoughts before I tune out here?
No, I agree with you completely. Love this time of year. Sweet 16 time in the NCAA tournament, heading into the Final Four. Baseball's getting started, and warmer weather is when it's here. Doesn't stay
Yep,
long, but it will be here for good in the very near future.
I agree. I agree. Well, viewers, thanks for joining us. I say this every week, but if you have any newsworthy items or any stories that you think are need some extra coverage or some accomplishments that are sort of out there that are worth mentioning, we'd love to spread that word for you. So feel free to contact us at any of those methods there that you see on your screen. Otherwise, I am Eric DeRosset, and for Darren Archer, we're going to sign off for this week. Give yourself some time to watch a little baseball and a little basketball in the next week, and you'll be glad you did. So, without further ado, we're out for this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.